The invitation's shadow. Sophia Lynn adjusted her veil in the mirror, her fingertips tracing the delicate lace edge. The bridal suite buzzed with activity. Bridesmaids rushing about, makeup artists making final touches, and her mother dabbing tears from the corners of her eyes. It was happening. After years of heartbreak and healing, she was marrying Ethan Ross, the man who had shown her what love should feel like. "You look absolutely radiant," whispered May, Sophia's sister and maid of honor, squeezing her shoulders gently. "I never thought I'd feel this happy again," Sophia replied, meeting her sister's eyes in the reflection. "Remember how I was after?" She didn't need to finish. Everyone remembered the Sophia from 2 years ago, hollow-eyed and withdrawn after discovering her boyfriend Marcus had been secretly seeing Natalie Chen, her best friend since elementary school. The double betrayal had nearly broken her. "That's ancient history now," May said firmly. "Today is about you and Ethan." Sophia nodded, but couldn't help remembering the day she'd met Ethan. She'd been sitting alone at a cafe, rain streaming down the windows when he'd asked if he could share her table. Something in his warm brown eyes had made her say yes, despite her misgivings about men. Their conversation had flowed effortlessly, about books, travels, dreams, and for the first time in months she'd forgotten about her heartache for a few precious hours. "The florist needs your approval on something," called one of the bridesmaids, pulling Sophia from her reverie. The wedding venue, a restored Victorian mansion with sprawling gardens, was everything she'd dreamed of. Fairy lights twinkled in the trees, white roses and cherry blossoms adorned every surface, and the spring air carried a sense of renewal that matched her heart. Ethan waited in a separate room with his groomsmen. When Sophia had insisted on following the tradition of not seeing each other before the ceremony, he'd kissed her forehead and said, "I'd wait forever if that's what makes you happy." Sophia checked her phone for the 100th time. No unexpected messages, which was a relief. She'd deliberately not sent an invitation to Natalie or anyone connected to her former circle. The wedding would be intimate, only 100 guests, all people who had supported them and believed in their love. "Sophia, there's someone asking for you at the entrance," said Ryan, her brother, poking his head into the bridal suite. Something in his tone made her stomach clench. "Who is it?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Just a delivery. I'll handle it," he said quickly, but not before Sophia caught a flicker of concern in his eyes. As Ryan left, Sophia's phone chimed with a text from her cousin. "Is Natalie invited? Just saw her parking outside." The room suddenly felt too warm. Natalie, here, today of all days. "Everything okay?" May asked, noticing her sister's expression. "I'm not sure," Sophia replied, showing her the message. "That's impossible. She wouldn't dare," May said, her voice hardening. But they both knew better. Natalie had always been drawn to drama, to being the center of attention. Their friendship had been genuine once until Marcus came between them. Even then, Sophia had never understood why Natalie had chosen a man over 15 years of friendship. "Should I tell Ethan?" Sophia whispered, fear creeping into her voice. "Let's not jump to conclusions," May replied, though her frown betrayed her worry. "It's almost time anyway. Nothing and no one is going to ruin this day for you." Sophia took a deep breath and looked at herself in the mirror once more. She had come too far, healed too much, to let old wounds reopen now. Whatever Natalie's reason for coming, Sophia would face it with the grace she had cultivated through her pain. "You're right," she said to May, squaring her shoulders. "This is my day." "Our day?" The wedding coordinator knocked gently, announcing it was time to line up. As Sophia gathered her bouquet of white peonies and roses, she felt a strange sense of foreboding beneath her excitement. Something told her that today would bring not just the union she had longed for, but a confrontation with the past she thought she'd left behind. Unwelcome guests. The ceremony began like a dream. Rows of white chairs adorned with satin ribbons and wildflowers lined the garden path. A string quartet played softly as the bridesmaids floated down the aisle in dusty rose dresses. When Sophia appeared on her father's arm, a collective gasp rippled through the gathering. Her gown, an off-shoulder creation of silk and lace, caught the afternoon sunlight, giving her an almost ethereal glow. Ethan's face when he saw her was worth every moment of pain that had led to this day. His eyes glistened with unshed tears, and the love radiating from him was almost tangible. Sophia focused on that love, on his steady presence waiting for her, trying to ignore the anxious flutter in her chest. Just as she reached the midpoint of the aisle, movement at the back of the seating area caught her attention. Her step faltered imperceptibly as she spotted them. Natalie, stunning in a figure-hugging emerald dress that deliberately flouted wedding guest etiquette, and beside her Marcus, looking uncomfortable but defiant. Sophia's father squeezed her arm gently. "Keep walking, sweetheart," he whispered. "Don't give them the satisfaction." She nodded almost imperceptibly and continued forward, chin high. When she reached Ethan, his warm hands took hers, anchoring her. "You okay?" he murmured so only she could hear. "I am now," she replied, surprised to find she meant it. The ceremony proceeded beautifully. Sophia and Ethan exchanged heartfelt vows they had written themselves. Ethan's included a promise that made several guests dab at their eyes. "I vow to be the safe harbor where you can always return, knowing you're valued, respected, and cherished for exactly who you are." As they sealed their union with a kiss, applause erupted. Sophia allowed herself to glance toward the back row. Natalie was whispering something to Marcus, a smile playing on her lips that Sophia recognized all too well, the smile that had always preceded some form of mischief. During the cocktail hour, Sophia stayed close to Ethan, moving through groups of well-wishers with practiced grace. She caught glimpses of Natalie working the room, introducing Marcus to mutual acquaintances as "my partner" with pointed emphasis. "Should I ask them to leave?" Ryan appeared at Sophia's side, his protective instinct evident. "No," Sophia decided after a moment. "That would only create more drama. Let's just enjoy our day." But as she excused herself to visit the restroom before the reception, Sophia overheard voices from an alcove near the bridal suite. She froze, recognizing Natalie's distinctive laugh. "Did you see her face when she spotted us?" Natalie was saying. "Priceless. She's obviously still not over you." "I don't know about this, Nat," Marcus replied, sounding less certain. "We weren't invited for a reason." "Oh, please. She needs to see you've moved on too. Besides," Natalie's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, "I wanted to see if her marriage is real or just a desperate attempt to prove something. The way she kept looking at you during the ceremony, that girl is definitely still carrying a torch." Sophia's heart hammered against her ribs. The audacity, the cruelty of it struck her like a physical blow. They had come deliberately to test her, to potentially disrupt the most important day of her life. "And that groom," Natalie continued. "So earnest, so clueless. Does he even know about all the baggage she's bringing into their marriage? I doubt she's told him everything about us." Sophia slipped away silently before she could hear more, ducking into an empty room to collect herself. Her hands trembled as she texted May. "Need you. Blue sitting room." Within minutes, May found her, concern etched on her features. "What happened?" she demanded, closing the door behind her. Sophia recounted what she'd overheard, her initial shock hardening into something else, a quiet, steely resolve. "Those manipulative, selfish," May began. "I won't let them win," Sophia interrupted. "Not today. Not ever again." "What are you going to do?" Sophia smoothed her gown, checked her reflection in a nearby mirror, and reapplied her lipstick with steady hands. "First, I'm going to enjoy my wedding dinner with my husband," she said with newfound clarity. "And then, when the time is right, I'm going to end this chapter once and for all." The truth behind smiles. As Sophia prepared to return to the reception, May pulled her aside once more. "There's something you should know," she said hesitantly. "About Ethan and Ryan." Sophia frowned. "What about them?" "They anticipated this might happen," May explained. Ryan saw Natalie's RSVP response on social media. She posted about attending an awkward wedding this weekend. "He told Ethan, and they've been preparing." "Preparing? What does that mean?" Sophia asked, unsure whether to feel relieved or alarmed. "I don't know all the details," May admitted. "But Ethan wanted you to have your perfect day without worrying. He said if they showed up you'd have options, but the choice would be entirely yours. This revelation stunned Sophia. Ethan had known this might happen and hadn't told her, not to deceive her, but to protect her. Unlike Marcus, who had hidden things out of selfishness, Ethan's silence had been selfless. He's been collecting evidence, May continued, lowering her voice. Screenshots of Natalie's messages to mutual friends about coming here to stir things up. Apparently, she's been obsessed with the idea that you're still hung up on Marcus. That's absurd, Sophia whispered. I haven't thought about him in over a year. We know that. But Natalie can't accept it. She needs to believe she won something. The realization washed over Sophia like cold water. Natalie's actions had never been about love for Marcus. They were about competition with her. Even now, on Sophia's wedding day, Natalie was still competing for something Sophia no longer wanted. When they returned to the reception, Sophia found Ethan waiting, his eyes searching hers with concern. "Dance with me?" he asked, extending his hand. On the dance floor, surrounded by other couples but in their own world, Sophia finally asked, "Why didn't you tell me you knew they might come?" Ethan's arms tightened slightly around her. "I wanted to spare you the anxiety. I know how hard you've worked to move forward." He hesitated. "Are you angry?" Sophia considered the question seriously. "No," she finally said. "I think I'm grateful. You were trying to protect the day, not control it." "Ryan and I did discuss asking security to turn them away," Ethan admitted. "But ultimately, I knew this was your battle to fight, if you chose to. I just wanted to make sure you had reinforcements." They swayed in silence for a moment before Ethan added, "Whatever you decide to do, I'm with you. This is your closure, not mine." Sophia rested her head against his chest, overwhelmed by the difference between her past and present. Marcus had made decisions for her, about her, without her. Ethan prepared options but left the choice in her hands. Across the room, Sophia noticed Natalie watching them, her expression unreadable. Marcus was at the bar, looking increasingly uncomfortable as several of Sophia's friends gave him cold shoulders. "I need to speak with Ryan," Sophia decided, "before the toasts." She found her brother deep in conversation with the wedding photographer, who nodded seriously at whatever instructions Ryan was giving. "Everything's ready," Ryan told Sophia when they had a moment alone. "If you want to proceed, just give me the signal during my toast. If not, we continue as planned." "Show me what you have," Sophia requested. Ryan pulled out his phone and quickly showed her a compilation. Screenshots of Natalie's social media posts planning to make an appearance at the wedding, messages to mutual friends speculating about Sophia's fake happiness, and most damning of all, a recorded conversation from earlier that day when Natalie had cornered one of the bridesmaids to pump her for information. "How did you get all this?" Sophia asked, amazed. "You'd be surprised how many people have been waiting for a chance to expose her games," Ryan replied. "Once word got out that she might crash your wedding, evidence came flooding in." As dinner concluded and the time for toasts approached, Sophia made her decision. She caught Ethan's eye across the room and gave him a subtle nod. His responding smile, part pride, part solidarity, strengthened her resolve. The DJ announced it was time for toasts. May went first, moving many guests to tears with stories of Sophia's resilience. Ryan followed, champagne glass in hand, his speech seemingly traditional until he paused and looked directly at his sister. "Sophia, you once told me that true strength isn't about never falling. It's about how you rise afterward." He raised his glass slightly higher. "Today isn't just a celebration of your love for Ethan. It's a testament to your courage to trust again." That was the signal. Sophia squeezed Ethan's hand and stood, taking the microphone her brother offered. The room quieted, all eyes on the radiant bride who suddenly seemed to possess a magnetic power. She took a deep breath, ready to reclaim not just her day, but her narrative. Glasses raised. The crystal microphone felt cool against Sophia's palm as she faced her guests. Her gaze swept across the room, momentarily connecting with Natalie's surprised expression in the back corner. "First, I want to thank everyone who was actually invited for being here today," Sophia began with a gentle smile that brought knowing chuckles from the crowd. Your love and support have meant everything to Ethan and me." She paused, taking a sip of champagne. The room grew hushed, sensing the shift in atmosphere. "Some of you know that my journey to this day wasn't straightforward. 2 years ago, I thought I knew what love was." Her eyes flickered briefly toward Marcus, who shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "I was wrong. What I experienced then wasn't love. It was possession disguised as affection, betrayal masked as growth." Natalie's smile had frozen, her fingers gripping her champagne flute too tightly. "I could stand here and pretend that the past doesn't matter," Sophia continued, her voice gaining strength. "But the truth is, without that pain, I might never have recognized real love when it finally found me. So in a strange way, I'm grateful for the lessons." Ethan stood and moved to her side, his hand resting supportively at the small of her back. "When you truly love someone," Sophia said, looking up at Ethan with genuine adoration, "you don't need to test them. You don't need to create drama to feel secure. You simply cherish them." She turned back to the audience. "Which is why I find it fascinating that some people," her gaze landed directly on Natalie, "still believe that love is a competition to be won, rather than a connection to be nurtured." Ryan stepped forward, tablet in hand, nodding at Sophia. "I recently learned that my wedding was targeted as an opportunity for a social experiment. A chance to see if I was truly happy or just pretending." Sophia's voice remained calm, almost compassionate. "So for the benefit of anyone wondering, yes, I am genuinely, deeply happy. And no, I haven't thought about my ex in a very long time." The projection screen behind her illuminated, with the first of Ryan's collected evidence, Natalie's, social media post announcing her plan to attend an awkward wedding with hashtags that clearly identified the date and venue of Sophia's ceremony. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd as more images appeared, screenshots of messages Natalie had sent to mutual friends discussing her intentions, the recorded conversation with the bridesmaid where she admitted wanting to test Sophia's marriage. "I considered asking security to remove our uninvited guests," Sophia continued as the evidence played behind her. "But then I realized this was actually a perfect opportunity, not for them to test me, but for me to finally close this chapter completely." Natalie had gone pale, her eyes darting toward the exit. Marcus looked mortified, staring fixedly at the floor. "So thank you, Natalie, for giving me this chance to say what I never got to say before." Sophia's voice softened. "I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Your games, your insecurities, your need to compete, they're not my burden anymore." She turned to Marcus next. "And to you, I'm grateful. Without your betrayal, I might have settled for less than I deserve. I might never have experienced what real partnership feels like." Ethan stepped forward then, taking the microphone. "I knew about this possibility for weeks," he admitted to the stunned crowd, "and I had a choice to make. Try to control the situation or trust my wife." The word wife brought a fresh smile to Sophia's face. "I chose trust, just as I'll continue to choose trust, respect, and honesty every day of our marriage." He nodded to the DJ, who switched the projection to a video montage. On screen appeared dozens of Sophia and Ethan's friends and family members, each sharing brief messages about the transformation they'd witnessed in Sophia over the past 2 years. "She glows now," said one friend. "She laughs from her soul again," added another. "She found someone who sees her worth and adds to it instead of diminishing it," May's recorded face declared. The final clip was from Sophia's father. "My daughter deserved someone who would walk beside her, not ahead or behind. Someone who would stand with her through life's storms, not create them. She found that in Ethan." As the video ended, there wasn't a dry eye in the room, except perhaps Natalie's, which burned with humiliation as she tugged at Marcus's sleeve, clearly wanting to leave. Sophia raised her glass one final time. "To love that builds rather than breaks. To relationships based on trust rather than tests. And to all of you, the real guests who have supported our journey, thank you for being the kind of people who understand what love actually means." Dancing in freedom. The reception continued long into the night, transforming from formal celebration to joyous revelry. Sophia had changed into her second dress, a sleek, champagne-colored slip that caught the light as she moved through the crowd, accepting congratulations and sharing laughter with genuine lightness. "Have I told you today that you're extraordinary?" Ethan whispered as they swayed together on the dance floor for what must have been the 20th time that evening. "Maybe once or twice," Sophia replied with a teasing smile. "But I don't mind hearing it again." His hands moved to frame her face, thumbs gently brushing her cheekbones. "You are the most extraordinary woman I have ever known," he said, his voice husky with emotion. "Watching you tonight, standing in your truth with such grace, I've never been more certain of anything than I am of us." The fairy lights strung above them cast a golden glow across his features, highlighting the sincerity in his eyes. Sophia felt the familiar warmth spread through her chest, the feeling she'd come to recognize as home. "I want to show you something," she said, taking his hand and leading him away from the dance floor, through the venue to a secluded balcony overlooking the gardens. The night air was cool against their skin, fragrant with jasmine and distant sea salt. Above them, stars punctuated the velvet sky, competing with the crescent moon for brilliance. "I've been carrying this for months," Sophia said, retrieving a small envelope from a hidden pocket in her dress. "I was waiting for the perfect moment." Ethan opened it carefully, pulling out a handwritten letter. As he read, his expression shifted from curiosity to deep emotion. "This is dated from our third date," he observed softly. Sophia nodded. "That was the night I knew, really knew, that what we had was different. I wrote this as a promise to myself, that if we ever reached this day, I would share it with you." The letter detailed her feelings, her fears, her hopes, written at a time when their relationship was just beginning to bloom. It spoke of her trepidation about trusting again, but also of the undeniable connection she felt with him, how his presence made her feel both safe and exhilarated. "The last paragraph," she urged gently when she saw he had paused. Ethan's voice was thick with emotion as he read aloud. "If you're reading this, it means I found the courage to trust not just you, but myself. It means we made it. And I want you to know that whatever happened before you, the heartbreak, the betrayal, it wasn't wasted pain. It was the price of admission to this moment, to us. And I would pay it 1,000 times over to find my way to you." When he looked up, his eyes glistened in the moonlight. Without words, he pulled her to him, one hand cradling the back of her head as his lips found hers in a kiss that conveyed everything words couldn't: gratitude, devotion, desire, promise. The sounds of the reception faded into background noise as they lost themselves in each other. Sophia felt the familiar heat building between them, the magnetic pull that had been there from their very first touch. "Do you think anyone would notice if the bride and groom disappeared for a while?" Ethan murmured against her neck, his breath sending shivers across her skin. "Absolutely," Sophia laughed softly. "But I don't particularly care." They found their way to the bridal suite, where rose petals had been scattered across the king-sized bed in preparation for later that night. The moment the door closed behind them, the carefully maintained composure of the day dissolved into urgent need. Ethan's hands trembled slightly as he helped her out of her dress, his eyes darkening as the silk pooled at her feet. "You are so beautiful," he whispered, reverent. Sophia's fingers made quick work of his bow tie and dress shirt buttons. "And you," she replied, pressing her lips to the newly exposed skin of his chest, "are everything I never knew to ask for." Their coming together was both tender and passionate, a physical expression of the emotional intimacy they'd built over the past 2 years. Every touch was a promise, every kiss a vow more binding than the official ones they'd exchanged hours earlier. Afterward, they lay tangled in the sheets, Sophia's head resting on Ethan's chest as he traced lazy patterns along her bare shoulder. "We should probably go back," she sighed, not making any move to do so. "Probably," he agreed, equally stationary, "though I'm pretty sure May has it handled. Your sister is surprisingly efficient at managing drunk groomsmen and emotional aunts." Sophia laughed, the sound vibrating against his skin. "She's had practice. Remember my cousin's wedding?" They remained in their bubble a while longer before reluctantly returning to their celebration. their brief absence noted only by knowing smiles from the bridal party. As midnight approached, guests formed a tunnel of sparklers for the newlyweds' exit. Sophia and Ethan ran through the shower of golden light toward their waiting car, laughter and joy radiating from them. Just before climbing in, Sophia turned for one last look at the venue, at the place where she had not only begun a new chapter but definitively ended an old one. Through the glittering light of the sparklers, she caught sight of May raising a final toast in their direction. "Ready for our adventure?" Ethan asked, holding the car door for her. Sophia took his hand, feeling the cool metal of his new wedding band against her fingers. "I've been ready since that rainy day in the cafe," she replied. As they drove away toward their honeymoon destination, Sophia rested her head on Ethan's shoulder, completely at peace. The ghosts of her past had finally been laid to rest, not through avoidance or pretense, but through the strength she'd found in genuine love, both for Ethan and, perhaps more importantly, for herself. In the quiet of the car, with the man who had taught her what partnership truly meant, Sophia Lynn Ross smiled at the road ahead, a path no longer shadowed by what had been, but illuminated by all that was yet to come.